Let's therefore raise the big question. Is the United Kingdom still a safe haven for fugitives? Why is extradition from the United Kingdom tough? Is the government really serious, the Modi government serious in nabbing the fugitives, many of whom have left under the watch of this government? Joining me now is Kanwal Sibal, former Indian Foreign Secretary, joins me. I'll also be joined in a moment by Tanveer Ahmed Mir, senior criminal lawyer, and Burzeen Wagmar from the SOAS South Asia Institute of the University of London also joins me. Let me come to you, Burzeen, first there. We've seen India from time to time claim that they are working with the United States to extradite economic offenders, but there's been very little progress in that matter. In fact, today, Jairam Ramesh of the Congress tweeted that we need a fugitive agreement, not just a trade agreement. What is the reason that UK is seen to be such a safe haven for many of these economic offenders?
I would foreground those remarks against the fact that the obstruction of justice is at heart. Ambulance chasing lawyers, perverse obstruction of justice by judges, which works to the advantage of such economic offenders, but also other illegal aliens who are present on British soil, and the wide, perverse interpretation of what is the Human Rights Act, which in itself is a very much discussion that is ongoing as we speak with the current government and as well as the previous Sunak administration. And in more ways than one, that has been used perversely to the hilt by such individuals and by lawyers who make a killing out of it. Under the ambit of human rights, it does work to the advantage, which is why the Home Office is left, pretty much paralyzed. It is not, Rajdeep, I must state, the political dispensation's view not to cooperate on a bilateral basis with another country, and with India, with whom ties are intimate in more ways than one, considering that India and UK are now a part of the Quad, Indo-Pacific strategy, so on and so forth, building up on centuries of relations. It's just that it's these aspects which are obstructionist, and there is much momentum here locally to veer out of it in terms of this Human Rights Act and the ECHR provisions that have worked in favor of not just these offenders, but also complaints from other UK close allies, including GCC states, who have a far more intimate security military relationship with London than New Delhi does, in terms of Islamists who have found a comfortable haven on British soil, and where extradition also plays a major role. And they've also been able to use the question of human rights to their advantage.
You know, Kanwal Sibal, listening there to Burzeen, there are two aspects to this. There is, of course, the legal system in the United Kingdom, which perhaps offers a protective veil to many of these so-called economic offenders. But there's also the question of intent. There's a belief that the Indian government hasn't done enough. For example, Nirav Modi, someone who was arrested and remains in custody in the United Kingdom, crimes committed in India, but the Indian government has found it very difficult to extradite him. Can it only be blamed on the law? Is there a question of intent as well, which is why many of the economic offenders are finding UK to be a safe haven?
Let me give you an example of Vijay Mallya. Went through a long legal process. The courts allowed his extradition. And one thought that he would be extradited. And then suddenly the whole process stopped. And our friend Boris Johnson, then Prime Minister, was pretty candid in saying, without revealing what the real problem is, that there is a provision within the government of freshly looking at the whole thing, but what the basis and the parameters are secret and cannot be divulged to any foreign government. So actually, it's the government that stopped the extradition. So Britain
but why has the Indian government not front-loaded it? I mean, let's be very clear, Kanwal Sibal. Vijay Mallya claims, first of all, that he's innocent, that he's repaid all his loans, that he would like to come back to India, but he doesn't have trust in our criminal justice system. But why hasn't the government front-loaded these issues? Most of these people have spent a decade and more in the United Kingdom now.
You're absolutely right. The case was fought, and as I said, it went through the full legal process, and the British High Court, actually, the Home Ministry to begin with, and the British courts allowed his extradition. But the government has stopped it. Now, point is, what you're saying is that what is the kind of pressure government of India should use in other fields to
Yes.
compel Britain to extradite Mallya. Now, this is a problem that we face diplomatically with a whole lot of countries because they will not bend to your priorities, to your demands, and then they place you in a position where you may have to use some other points of pressure to get your way. Then you have to decide whether it is worth it. Now, for example, in this case, I'm just speaking theoretically, we would have said, look, we're not going to sign this Vision to 2035 or whatever else we want to do with you or enter into some defense agreements with you unless we get satisfaction on this. Now, are we willing to make these kind of links in our diplomacy towards not only the United States,
No,
UK,
should
but other
we?
countries?
No, but let me ask you very clearly, should we? Have we been less than enthusiastic in a way? Have we? It's very easy to put it all the blame on the UK government. The UK
My
government has
point is,
approved they've approved most of these extraditions. It's stuck in the legal system. But has India been proactive enough? A straight answer to that.
I would say that you have to measure very carefully what your larger interests are and whether Vijay Mallya's extradition is so much at the core of your national interest that you are
Right.
willing to sacrifice other areas of the national interest, which are far more important and make it an issue. Look at the whole Khalistani issue and all the space they get in that country. Now we've been protesting against it. We've been putting pressure. We've not got full satisfaction. Again, the same question arises: are you going to make this actually the litmus test of any future good relationship with the United Kingdom, or you keep pressing on these issues, but let the relationship move forward in which you can gain something very substantial from the relationship?
Okay. Tanveer Ahmed Mir, senior criminal lawyer, joins me. Tanveer, we've seen in most of these cases, there has been very little progress made beyond, of course, the UK government saying they approve extradition, but then it gets caught in a legal tangle. Do you believe that makes it extremely difficult? The United Kingdom system operates in a way that there can be a series of appeals that any individual can make, even going to the court of justice in Europe. Do you believe that makes it very difficult?
Absolutely, Rajdeep. It's a very difficult process. And irrespective of the will of the government, that Mr. Sibbal was saying that perhaps in his understanding, the government has taken a backseat. But the issue is that insofar as the extradition process of fugitive arms dealer Sanjay Bhandari is taken into consideration, the government of India lost the matter in the UK High Court and got a knuckle blow. Now, in terms of those judgments or whatever order came from England, two things were very clear. One is that we are not going to extradite a person who will be put to a lot of human right abuse, politically motivated prosecutions, and anything ancillary and appendant to that. I have a different solution. The government of India, in the case of even Nirav Modi or Vijay Mallya, should straight away say to the courts of the London and give an undertaking that if these people do come back to India, we're not going to arrest them at all. And why should they be arrested and put through the custodial interrogation when you have the will, the wherewithal to do an expedited trial rather than taking the people into custody forefront, give them an opportunity to contest the cases, do cross-examine your witnesses and prove that you're good. See, the biggest...
That's an interesting point. You see, that's it because in the Sanjay Bhandari case, which is a defense dealer, the UK High Court rejected the extradition, citing risks of extortion and violence in Indian custody. So the UK system doesn't seem to see the Indian system as providing a fair trial. So you're saying the guarantee will have to be given to give a speedy trial. Am I correct?
No, I'm saying that government of India should go step for example, in Vijay Mallya, as against an outstanding debt of 6,000 crores, which he owed to the bankers, there is a total recovery of 14,000. Why do you need the man to go into custody? If you give him an assurance that you come back to your homeland, where you were one of the biggest, promoter directors of companies at a young age of 28, yes, there are criminal prosecutions. We give an assurance that we will not take you into custody. Please come down back to your homeland and contest your cases. Custody is not needed.
That's a very interesting viewpoint. Burzin, you're raising your hand. Go ahead.
Very quickly, your previous guest made a very pertinent point. Rajdeep, India can make a case as the world's largest functioning democracy that we do not visit torture upon such individuals who are repatriated to India. I mean, barely did Tahawur Rana land in New Delhi that he was afforded legal protection. Now, the case is going on and not in the public domain, true, but he was afforded legal aid upon returning to India, from what I understand. Likewise, with the Ajmal Kasab case, he wasn't shot dead, he was rehabilitated, he was recuperated, and a full-fledged trial took place where he was implicated for, as the trial said.
No, but do you agree?
recollect.
Do you agree, Burzin, with the point which is being made by Tanveer Ahmed Mir, that rather than say that we are immediately going to put them into custody, give the assurance to the UK court that whether it's a Vijay Mallya, or whether it's a Nirav Modi, or whether it's a Lalit Modi, they will go through they will also be given the rights that we give every Indian citizen.
Exactly, and I agree, concur with Mr. Mir. Why does not New Delhi very robustly make that out to London, DC, or elsewhere, that these protections are afforded to every individual who is repatriated, and that the world's largest democracy does make a case? And I've cited two salient examples: Tahawur Rana, which is ongoing, and the Ajmal Kasab case, which eventually saw him receive capital punishment, which in India is given only in the rarest of rare cases, as the Supreme Court has consistently stated. So the question of India being run like a police state or a banana republic where torture is visited upon individuals beggars belief. And that is what happens, coming back here on the London home front, is the question of torture, which is what these ambulance chasing lawyers bring up, that they would not have a fair trial and they would be physically mutilated would that they were repatriated. And that's where things hold as such under this Human Rights Convention and Strasbourg and Europe and the rest of it. But India can bring in, Rajdeep, these two robust cases that I mentioned, among a slew of others, that a democracy doesn't operate under such conditions.
Tanveer, you want to respond? You raised your hand.
I just wanted to say that there is no gainsaying. The government of India and the law enforcement agencies in these cases will lose nothing if they give an upfront assurance in the form of an undertaking or an affidavit of a responsible officer of government of India, maybe of a law enforcement agency, simply saying that, Your Honor, if this man is extradited, or if he comes on his own, we give an assurance that we will not oppose his bail. Let him go out, let him go out his home. You press your indictment in a court of law and rely upon your witnesses to earn yourself a conviction. Why do you need the man to go into custody who's paid 14,000 crores for a debt of 6,000 crores? What will you get out of it?
You know, that brings me, therefore, Kaval Sibal, circling back to you, is the government serious about these cases? There's a lot of noise which is made around it, but is the government of India serious in terms of ensuring that the prosecution takes place in a fair manner, in an expeditious manner? In the case of a Lalit Modi, for example, money laundering charges were made in 2010, extradition statuses, there's no significant legal proceedings anymore. In the Nirav Modi case, there's an appeal in the High Court claiming mental health issues that are pending. He's, of course, in custody. And in Vijay Mallya's case, also an asylum bid has delayed extradition. But the general feeling is that the Indian government has not really made this a priority issue. Do you agree?
Look, there are a couple of things. One is that, do we seriously believe amongst us that the British don't know what our system is? Aside the cases that have been cited by the gentleman from SOS, the British also know this. They know the inside and outside of the ins and out of our legal system. It's not as if India is such a black hole that they have no concept of how our democracy works or our legal system works. They are just excuses. And we are unnecessarily putting ourselves on the defensive by trying to tell the British that we are a democracy and our legal system works according to known sets and rules. And it's a fair system.
What's your second point?
Number one is this. Number two, as I said before, you talked about the delays in our legal system. What about the delays in the British system? Look at all years and years have gone by, and appeal after appeal for this reason or that reason, and this review and that review. What does this say about the British legal system? It also delays matters inordinately.
Fair point, yes. Burzin, do you agree?
Lastly, the point is, as I said earlier, at the end of the day, when all the legal procedures are completed, there is an internal political process which is secret, which is not known. and under which the British government can decide not to extradite. And this has happened in the case of Mallya.
Okay.
Britain has become a safe haven for all these fellows, and they want to preserve that. It has larger implications internationally.
30
There are
seconds.
people-
30
people
seconds,
who-
Burjin. Quick response.
Rajdeep, moving back to the Khalistan and separatism and irredentism issue, Colombo begged London for decades from mid-70s when the Elam issue started. Only in 2001 it was proscribed by the Home Office, and the final showdown which happened and the LTTE was destroyed only in 2009. Sri Lanka does not carry that much weightage or heft as, say, India would. But I just wanted to put that as a historian, that despite and a smaller state which suffered much more than India does, and that too fell on deaf ears. I just wanted to put that into historical context.
Okay, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. Very, very interesting. Amidst all the bonhomie, the fact is that the two countries, while they've got the trade deal done, and that's good news, they just haven't got their act together when it comes to extradition of economic offenders. I appreciate my guests joining me on the show tonight. Thank you very much.